What's up, sports fans? It's your boy, Mike the Sports Guy, here on Monday, June 21st, 2021. And you know what that means? It is Major League Baseball Power Rankings time. And man, oh man, we had a lot of teams moving around this week. Holy moly. Mercy, a lot of teams moving this week. Crazy week in baseball. A lot of splits and series and a lot of movement, and we have a new number one. Yes, that's right. You heard me right. We got a new number one in the power rankings this week. So let's not delay as I'm wearing my nice, beautiful, stitched away Pete Alonso jersey. Take 10 guesses why. New York State's finally fully opened up, and so is Citi Field. So let's put it like that. I will be there tonight, and I hope to get to see DeGrom pitch a perfect game. And I probably just jinxed it, but I don't care. All right, let's get to it. So, moving to the corner, like I always do. So we're ready to go. More power rankings. And here's your teams from last week. Take your notes. Do it quickly. I'm only going to show it for like 3 seconds. This is last week's power rankings. Your Diamondbacks, of course, last place. The Tampa Bay Rays were first. A lot of teams moving around this week. Who got number one? Stay tuned. Here we go. You ready? Let's get to it. Moving on to power rankings number 30. A team that went... Oh, my screen just freaked out. That's okay. All right. Technical difficulties. Right off the bat. All right. This team... Oh, lordy. They are 0-17 or the last 17 games. That's a 17-game losing streak. They went 0-7 this week. They are 0-10 their last 10. They have a record of 20-53. Oh, Lord. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks. Man, what a lost season this has become, huh? This has become a complete disaster for them in every stretch of the imagination. They just got 4 games swept by the Giants and then 3 games swept by the Dodgers. And they broke the Major League record in straight losses on the road at past 23 games. Ay, Dios mío, Arizona Diamondbacks. All right. Number 29, this team drops 3 spots from last week. They were 26th. They now have a record of 25-46. They are 18 games back of the American League West, although that really doesn't matter. They just had a 2-game set against Houston. They just lost both games. And then they also had a 3-game set against the Minnesota Twins. They lost all 3 games. They've lost 6 straight. They're 0-5 this week. That's the Texas Rangers. They've fallen off pretty quick. Very quick. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, their pitching was very solid, and then everybody got hurt, and then their offense couldn't keep up, and now Texas is near the bottom again. So there's a lot of jostling between teams this week, especially at the bottom of the standings. Some teams moving up, some teams moving down by virtue of who jumps who and whatnot. So to keep it straight, let's go to 28. Baltimore. They do not move from last week. 23-40 is their record. They have a Trey Gowdy, 11-25 record on the road. They're 12-23 at home. So either way, they're just a bad baseball team overall. They got swept by the Cleveland Indians, and they lost 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays. They went 1-6 this week. They've lost 2 straight. They've also lost 19 straight on the road, so that's a thing, and that's only going to get worse. So, and what a shame, because there's some good players on that team too. Trey Mancini, Mountcastle, just to name a few. There's a couple all-stars on that team. They just cannot just get it together. But this was expected with the Orioles this year and the Rangers. Not so the Diamondbacks, though. This is extremely surprising to see how bad they're doing. It's just record-breaking bad this year. All right, number 27. This team moves up 2 spots from last week. They are now at 25-45. They lost all 3 games against the Nationals this week. But then they won 2 out of 3 against Cleveland at the end of the week. They went 2-4. That's the Pittsburgh Pirates. Expectations are low with this team. That's expected, but they're getting wins here and there. They're beating some teams at times too. Depends on who it is, but they're making it work. And they're just there. I mean, that's the best I can say for the Pirates. Like I said, they're also rebuilding too, as well as the other 2 teams down here. So that's the expectation. All right, number 26. They are now at 30-42. This team went 4-3 this week. I get that right? Yes, I did. Went 4-3 this week. They took a sweep for the Kansas City Royals, and then they lost 3 out of 4 against the Angels. That's the Detroit Tigers. And Tigers, is pretty much season's over for them as well, I would think, at this point, unless they go on some miraculous run. So is the team ahead of them in the standings by a half game. So, I mean, another lost season in Detroit. Shame, because those fans are waiting for something special there, like special as in playoffs. Don't think they're going to get that anytime soon, at least within the next year or two. So, anyway, moving on. This team, number 25, also moves down one spot. They are a half game up on the Detroit Tigers at a 30-41 record. They went 4-2 this week. They're coming off a 4-game winning streak. They lost 2 out of 3 against Seattle, and then they swept the Texas Rangers. That's the Minnesota Twins. So, getting some wins, especially as of late. They started the season downright putridly, and now they're really starting to pick it up. It's still a long season. We are still about 3/4 of the way through June. Anything can happen. Will Minnesota jump up? I don't know. The pitching is very suspect to me, but they're starting to get guys healthy. Byron Buxton just came off the injured list, or he's going to be coming off the injured list soon. No, he just came off the injured list. Sorry. Bregman just went on the injured list for my fantasy team. That's how I know that. So, Byron Buxton's back in the fold. Their all-star center fielder, well, would have been all-star center fielder if he didn't get hurt. But the Twinkies got to maybe make a comeback. Let's see. Give it some time. I'm not saying jump on the Twins bandwagon yet, but this team has way too much talent to be downright putrid for the rest of the year. But that's just my opinion. All right. I jumped ahead. Sorry. 24, Colorado. They move up 3 spots this week. A record of 30-43. They leapfrog 3 teams. What a week for the Colorado Rockies. 5-2 this week. Yeah, they lost the last 2 games against Milwaukee, but they split that series. And then they swept the San Diego Padres at home. Their home record's 25-16. Now, if they played every game at home, they'd be a playoff team. Unfortunately, their road record's 5 wins in 32 tries, so that doesn't help you very much. But, I mean, the Rockies, they're going to most likely sell at the deadline, but they're better than what everybody is saying they are. Maybe a little bit. I mean, they have their moments, especially when they're at home. They just can't seem to lose at home. So, at least for the most part, I mean, that's 9 games over 500 at home, but they got to really start playing better on the road if they're going to have any success in Major League Baseball. All right, not jumping the gun this time, so make sure. All right, 23 this week. This team drops 2 spots from 21 from last week. They now have a record of 31 wins and 40 losses. They are 8 games out of the National League East, 9.5 games out of the wild card. They got swept by the St. Louis Cardinals in the first part of the week, and then they won 2 out of 3 against the Chicago Cubs. That's the Miami Marlins. So the Marlins, they dropped just due to virtue of other teams moving up, unfortunately. Being the Cubs 2 out of 3, that's great, but you got swept by a really kind of laying low team in the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, by virtue of, hey, you know, maybe St. Louis started to play a little bit better. I don't know. But, I mean, for Miami, it's not a bad week. I think you can't. They're not expected to go anywhere. They're not a last place team in the National League East. They just can't. Their offense sputters at times, and their pitching just doesn't show up the other times. So it's like there's got to be a balance, and they don't have it. And unfortunately, this team made the playoffs last year. That might have been the worst thing that could happen to them last year, was to make the playoffs, and now have expectations and all this stuff. And now you're kind of in limbo now. So let's see what the Marlins can do for the rest of this year. But I think this season's pretty much over for them. Number 22, this team drops from 2 spots from 20 from last week. This team now has a record of 6 games under 500. A surprising start to the season rather. They're at 32-38 now. They're 10 games out of the American League Central, 9.5 out of the wild card. They got swept by the Detroit Tigers and lost 2 out of 3 against the Boston Red Sox. That is the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City, yeah, they've been picking wins here and there, and the series against Boston was impressive. But they've only won 3 out of their last 10 games. They're sputtering now, and they're starting to hit where they were supposed to be. Their start of the season was fantastic, and then they slowed down, and then they got hot. Now they're slowing down again, and it seems like they're continuing to slow down in the standings. So Kansas City, I think, start looking to next year, maybe. I don't think they're going to be a powerhouse team in order to be able to get into the American League Central race or the wild card conversation in that matter. So they now moved down 2 spots. They're now 22. This team drops 3 spots from last week. They're now an even 500, 36 and 36. They were 18th last week. This team's been falling down the ladder. However, they did go 4-3 this week. They did sweep the Marlins, and then they lost 3 out of 4 against the Braves. That would be a St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know, man. I said it last week too. I'm mind boggled because this team should be much better than this. They're better than a 500 team. I will say this, at least it's a good thing they're struggling now. It's a good thing that they're not, having these struggles in September or into the playoffs. So this team, they're 4 games out of the Central and they're 5 games out of the wild card, so they're not completely out of it. They gotta just start playing better baseball. I don't know what it's gonna take for the Cards. Maybe a little bit better bullpen with a little bit of support back there would probably help them. Their starting pitching's not off the charts either. It's Jack Flaherty and some days Adam Wainwright. Who else is really getting it done for you? I think the Cardinals should make some moves. Offense is great, but if you're not getting the pitching down, then. But even then, if you look past this week for St. Louis, a lot of low-scoring games. You had 1 9-1 game that they won. I don't know what it is, how they're doing the offense there. Something's got to give. Arenado and Goldschmidt, you'd think that would be the best hot corners in baseball, and they're not getting it done. So they did it Sunday afternoon against the Braves, but that's pretty much it. It's a one and done. You got to get more consistency. I think that's what Cardinals are striving for. That's what they need to find, maybe in the market. All right, number 20. This team moves up 2 spots from last week by virtue of being the Cardinals. Let's give it a little prelude. They were 22nd last week. They're now 33 and 36. They have an even 20-20 record at home, which is weird. I don't know. I found that weird when I did the stats this week. 5 games out of the National League East, 6.5 out of the wild card. They lost both games against the Boston Red Sox, but then they won 3 out of 4 against the Cardinals. That's the Bravos. This team's starting pitching has still had to find something. I don't know what they're going to find. It's been tough sledding for the Braves. They are going to start getting pieces healthy at some point. Maybe. Crossing fingers for their fans, maybe. But now they play the Mets for 4 games, and the Mets are looking to pretty much avenge themselves after a tough weekend series against the Nationals. Jacob deGrom comes back tonight. Jeff McNeil comes back tonight. So the Mets are starting to get healthy, and the Braves really need to get going. Oh, and you're playing the Mets in Citi Field, the Mets team that is 20-7 at home. So good luck with that one. But the Braves, they move up 2 spots by virtue of the teams moving down. Also beating the Cardinals helps too. I think that's a good thing for them, getting that 3 out of 4. Now they're going to try and get back to 500 and get back in the East race. All right, number 19. This team drops 5 spots to number 14 from number 14. This team is now 1 game under 500, 34 and 35. They are now 4 games out of the National League East, 5.5 of the wild card. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against the San Francisco Giants. That's the Philadelphia Phillies. Last week the week before this one, they did pretty good. This week, not so much. The Phillies, it's like they're hot one week, cold one week, hot one week, cold one week. This week, you play against teams that are better than you. Yeah, I think the result is kind of expected, and I think where they are in the power rankings as a whole, I think that's understandable where they are right now. And note that you have 3 National League East teams in the second to last row. Note one team that's not there. We'll get to them in a bit. Number 18. This team drops 2 spots from number 16. There's a lot of drops in this part of the order just because a lot of teams moved up. This team is now at 500, 36 and 36. They're 7.5 games out of the American League West, 6.5 out of the wild card. They got swept by the Oakland A's, and then they won 3 out of 4 against the Detroit Tigers. That's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And listen, at some point, the Angels' hot streak was going to come to a close, and then it came to a close with the door slamming shut in their face, right where their nose is. And Oakland is a better team than the Angels. Consistency issues is also a problem with them too. But listen, they're playing 500 baseball. That's something they didn't expect, especially with Mike Trout out of the lineup still. Listen, Shohei Ohtani, I think this team makes a run, and they could very well make a run. I think their pitching will let them down, but I think Shohei Ohtani is definitely, I think right now, is your American League MVP by far. With the way he's playing this year, I don't think it's any question right now. If not, then prove me wrong. But that's just my, unbiased opinion. But I think the Angels, they're there. I mean, they're better than a lot of teams would give them credit for. They weren't expected to be an over 500 team really this year either. They're there. Hey, you know what? Good for them. So let's see if they can keep building off of it. Winning 3 out of 4 against Detroit, maybe that helps you. You got to beat the teams that are higher than you in the standings, though, and that's why they dropped down 2 spots this week. This team drops down 4 spots this week. Another MVP candidate on the books, but this team's also 500 at 35-35. Tough week for the Toronto Blue Jays. Get swept in a 4-game. They lost the first game against Boston, a makeup game. They get swept by the Yankees, and then you win 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. I mean, that's not a satisfying week. Yeah, you got wins. You won against teams that you're supposed to beat, but a 2-5 week. This team's kind of starting to fade a little bit. Vlad Jr. is in the lead with all 3 offensive categories, which is insane. But clearly he can't do it alone. Tough going for Toronto right now. Their pitching's definitely reeling, and it's definitely noticeable on a nightly basis. They're getting, they're letting up at least, except for the first game this week, at least, let's see. They let up 5 runs, 6 runs on Tuesday. They let up 3 runs on Wednesday, loss. Thursday let up 8 runs, loss. Friday let up 7 runs, loss. Saturday let up 7 runs against Baltimore, but you beat them because their pitching's terrible. And then you let up 4 on Sunday. So something's got to give for Toronto. I don't think this is their year yet. I mean, they're playing 500 ball, and that gives them a shot to get into the race. I mean, Toronto, they're now, 7 games out of the American League East, 6.5 out of the wild card. There's a lot of teams that are the 5 and a 6.5 game wild card deficit right now. So a lot of teams in that middle part that are kind of jostling for getting up there. But some of these teams are starting to break out and break away from that. So let's see what Toronto does. I don't think they're going to go very far. I mean, I would love to see Vlad Jr. get the Triple Crown. That'd be insane to see, but let's see if that's going to be the case. But their pitching is going to keep them down. I think it's starting to show, and that's why they dropped 4 spots this week. This team is one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, coming up at number 16. They were number 19 last week. Yes, they're 3 games under 500, but after seeing the Washington Nationals this week, I think they deserve to be up here. They're playing much, much better baseball than they did the first part of the year. I wonder if COVID had a lot to do with that. I think that's a question that's starting to really get asked around the league, if that really impacted them. I think it did. They're a very top-heavy lineup, not going to lie, but Kyle Schwarber's on some kind of streak right now where it really doesn't matter. He seems to be hitting a home run every at-bat. What a pickup for them on a 1-year deal. And their pitching's starting to get it going. Max Scherzer might be back soon. Patrick Corbin's been pitching a lot better lately. John Lesser's been a great addition to that starting rotation. I think the Nationals deserve to be up higher than all those teams that went down this week. They went 6-1 this week. Yeah, they swept the Pirates, but then you beat the Mets 3 out of 4. I mean, that's respect in my book, even me being a Met fan. So they are still 5 games out of the National League East, 6.5 out of the wild card. They probably have a better chance of getting the division. I mean, they're still a game back of Philadelphia, and the Mets, they're still getting healthy. So will Washington be able to pick up some slack? Probably. I think this team's too talented to keep down for so long. It's just more along the lines of, can they keep it going? That's the whole point. So let's see if their pitching stays healthy too. Their bullpen's pretty formidable, especially with Hand in the back of that bullpen. But let's see what the Nats do. Mike Rizzo does with this team if they decide to, make a run for it again, or they pull the plug and then they start selling at the deadline. Number 15, this team did not change from last week. They were now a 500 team. They had a 3-4 week this week. They swept the Milwaukee Brewers, and then they got swept by the Padres, and that's the Cincinnati Reds. So Reds have been playing a lot better baseball as of late. Last week they did really well. They really jumped up the power rankings and the standings. They're now only 4 games out of the National League Central and 5 out of the National League wild card. Are the Reds for real? I don't know. I can't say if they are. I think the Nationals have a more of a threat than the Reds do, to be honest with you, within these two spots. But I think the Reds, their hitting's just, they just clobber the ball whenever they can. However, when guys are hurting, they're not getting the ball. Like, their losses are, they weren't even able to score more than 5 runs at all this week. So their offense has kind of sputtered a little bit here. But every team's going to go through stretches like that. It happens. So, but I think the Reds have been playing really good baseball, and they deserve to be in the middle right now. This team made the biggest jump from last week. Number 14. This team was 23rd last week. They're now 2 games over. You heard right. 2 games over 500 at 38-36. They have a record of 23-15 at home. Yeah. 6.5 games out of the American League West. 5.5 games out of the American League Wild Card. They won 2 out of 3 against the Minnesota Twins. And then the Seattle Mariners came in and swept the Tampa Bay Rays. Yes, they swept the Tampa Bay Rays this week. They've won 4 straight games. They are now 6-1 this week and have won 7 out of their last 10. The Mariners are hot, and the Mariners are playing really good baseball right now. Nobody expected this at all. I didn't expect this at all personally. But the Mariners, man, wow. Look at the sweep of the Rays is the most impressive thing. But that home record, 23-15, that's 8 games over 500. That's keeping them afloat in the American League race. Are they going to be able to keep it going by the All-Star break? I don't know. I don't think this team has the pitching to do it, personally. But man, oh man, this team is hot, hot, hot. Watch out for the Mariners. I was watching, before the season began, there was other YouTubers I was watching out. He'd be like, hey, watch out for the Mariners. They might be a dark horse. You know what? They're proving them right now. Still a long season to go. Let's see what they do. But Seattle right now, man, they're playing really good baseball. I jumped the gun. I'm sorry. I was going to prelude into, but the New York Yankees are your 13th power rank team for this week. They jumped 4 spots from 17th last week. They are now 5 games over 500, 38-33. 4.5 games out of the American League East. 4 games out of the American League Wild Card. They swept the Blue Jays, and then they won 2 out of 3 against the Oakland A's. That's a 5-1 record for the Yanks, and they're playing much better baseball. But it also depends on the week they're in. Some weeks it's Panic at the Disco, and then other weeks, everything's okay, I guess. So, I said this previously, that the Yankees have too much talent to be down for so long. They just got to be a lot more consistent. Their bullpen's really holding them up right now, though, too. So Chapman's been outstanding, and everybody other than Domingo Germán's been pitching pretty decently. It isn't perfect. Will they stay up here? Will they still stay down for so long? We will find out. The Yankees still have a lot of season to go, and so does everybody else. So, with Boston, how they're playing and how their season has gone, to keep the Yankees down might affect to see if they get to the playoffs and Boone and Cashman's job. Let's see. I think, in my personal opinion, if the Yankees don't make the playoffs, and if they shouldn't make the playoffs, I don't think that would be the best course of action for this team with how they're built, with the way their stadium is. I don't think this is a recipe for success for the long term for New York in the American League. So I think the Yankees really need to work on that. But for now, playing better baseball, and they moved up to 13th. All right, moving on to number 12. Not jumping the gun this time. They did not move up from last week or move down. This team is now 9 games over 500 at 39-30. 2.5 games out of the American League Central, 2 games out of the American League Wild Card. They swept the Baltimore Orioles, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh. That's the Cleveland Indians. And 5 in 2 weeks, not bad. Can't shrug on that, but this is the problem Cleveland had the last time, where they went really good in the really early part of the week, and then the last part of the second half of the week, the second series during the week, they can't beat a team that's way below them in the standings in the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's... Listen, if you're the Indians and you're looking to try and make the playoffs here, you're playing much better baseball. Now you got closer because Chicago struggled a little bit this week. But, in the grand scheme of it, those are games you got to win, man. I'm sorry. There's a series you got to win. You can't win those series, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Just my honest and humble opinion. But I mean, let's be real. These teams do have stretches where you just can't beat bad teams. Cleveland seems to have a lot of that going on this year for some reason. I can't pick why. Jumping the gun, and I will, for both these teams, because both these teams are pretty much along with each other. They both dropped 6 spots, and that's Chicago Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers. They're both 40 and 32, and they both lead the National League Central. They also technically both are tied with this next team coming up in the National League Wild Card. Both teams went 2-5 this week. The Cubs, by virtue of opponent, are higher than Milwaukee. The Cubs lost 3 out of 4 against the Mets, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against Miami, where Milwaukee lost. They got swept by the Reds, and then they split the series against Colorado. So these two teams are pretty much neck and neck against each other, and this is going to be fun to watch when they play each other soon, because it's going to be happening soon. Listen, I mean, they both deserve to be Central leaders. They've both been playing baseball like they mean it. Let's see which one starts to break away from the other, though. I think Milwaukee will be the team that does it, just because they're more well-rounded, whereas Chicago, really with their starting pitching, is not. I mean, Milwaukee's starting pitching with Woodruff, especially this year. But he had a rough week this week, so... I mean, but it happens. Not every star pitcher is going to be perfect every time out. Met fans, so... But anyway, moving on. This team, number 9, moved up 1 spot from number 10. This team's now 10 games over 500 at 42 and 32. They are 5 games out of the National League West. They own the second wildcard spot in the National League. They got swept by the Colorado Rockies, and then they swept the Cincinnati Reds. That's the San Diego Padres. So, the Padres has been an interesting story for these past couple weeks. They've been playing middling baseball. It hasn't been impressive. It hasn't been great. Maybe this sweep of the Reds gets them going. I mean, now they've won 4 straight. You just salvaged a week where you now just went 4-3 after getting embarrassed by the Rockies in Colorado, a team that you're supposed to beat. But it happens. But San Diego, there's some issues. I mean, consistent starting pitching, not there. Especially with the overusage of the bullpen. It's just like, Jace Tingler, what are you doing, man? Like, calm yourself, man. You don't have to go to your bullpen every time that somebody starts to struggle in the middle of the game. Like, and that's how you burn your team out. And, I mean, the Padres are going to, I mean, they're a great team. They're a great team. They're a top 10 team in the Major League Baseball, and they deserve to be. But just some of the moves, man. I mean, just scratches your head. But Padres, number 9. This team, by virtue of 2 teams dropping and the other team only moving up 1 spot, is now number 8 on the power rankings, with an impressive 3 out of 4 win against the Cubs in the first part of the week, and then they lost 3 out of 4 against the Nationals, who are hot as molasses. This team is 36 and 29. They lead the National League East. That are the New York Metropolitans. So the Mets are struggling a little bit offensively. I think the whole bench mob thing's starting to kind of run its course, in my opinion. As much as I love it, and it's great to see, I think they're starting to get a little worn out. They are going to start getting pieces healthy. The DeGrom injury scare is scaring everybody, as it should. However, I also think that DeGrom coming back tonight, and if he pitches a really good game tonight, I think that goes a long way. And I also think that it's a 7-inning game tonight. So if he can go 7 innings, that's a godsend for the bullpen. They really need the rest. But the offense also needs a jolt. They get Jeff McNeil back tonight. So, hey, let's go. Mets are number 8. Let's see it start off against the Atlanta Braves in a 4-game series to start the week. And then a 4-game series with the Philadelphia Phillies to end the week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with a doubleheader on Friday as well. This team, coming in at number 7, jumps down 6 spots from last week. This team was number 1 last week. If you read your notes and heard me earlier, that is Tampa Bay. They now have a 43 and 30 record. Man, what a rough week for the Braves. They are now the 2nd place team in the American League East. They're a half game back. They also own the 2nd wildcard spot in the American League. They lost 2 out of 3 against the White Sox. Then they just dropped the whole entire series against the Seattle Mariners. I don't know what just happened there, but yeek. And then Tyler Glasnow got hurt earlier in the week. And Oh boy. Oh boy. Tampa Bay treading lightly. They are calling up their number one and the number one overall prospect in Major League Baseball, but they're reeling a little bit here. And I think, I mean, for the most part, this is a pretty somewhat young team. I mean, can they face the adversity that's coming their way, especially losing Glass now? That's going to be, if he's out for the rest of the year, that's a huge blow. But I mean, the Rays, you go against Seattle. If they won at least one of those games, I would have been fine with that. But now if you lost 6 straight and you're 1-6 for this week, and I mean, something's got to give. Let's see what the Rays can do. Chicago White Sox drop 3 spots from number 6 from last week. They're 43-29. They lead the American League Central. The only reason why they're up here is because they won 2 out of 3 against the Rays this week. And then they also got bombed out by Houston. So, the Houston Astros, man, they just tore apart the Chicago White Sox this week. And just a tough break for them. They've now lost 4 straight. They deserve to drop as well. This team, the next team I'm going to talk about, moves up 4 spots from number 9. They're now also 43-29. They lead the American League East now, a half game over the Tampa Bay Rays. They won 1 game against Toronto on Monday, swept the series, a 2-game set against Atlanta, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals. That's the Red Sox. I don't punish the Red Sox so much. They had a better week than Chicago and Tampa Bay, so that's why they're 5th this week in the power rankings. Also, just like in a general sense, the other 4 teams ahead of them also been playing really good baseball. And that's this team, number 4. They were 7th last week. They're now 44-29. 3 games. They move up 3 spots from last week. They're the first wild card team, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're technically tied for the American League West right now. But by technicality, they don't have the lead, just by record. They went with a sweep of the Angels early in the week, and then they lost 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. That's the Oakland Athletics. So the A's, they came against a tough series against the Yankees. That's a formidable opponent on an East Coast swing. Not an easy series to go through. However, that sweep of the Angels earlier in the week, I said the A's twice, my mistake. The sweep of the Angels earlier in the week really helped them out. They're playing really good baseball, and I think I was punishing them earlier on just because I was kind of being stupid about it, but the A's deserve to be in the top 10 teams at least right now with how they play baseball right now and how they're able to be in games night in and night out, especially this past week. They were pretty much in every game against the Yankees this week, so kudos to them. They're now number 4. Number 3, this team finally moves back up. This team's been stuck at number 6 for the last couple weeks. They now move up to number 3. They now have a record of 44-27 and have a weak Los Angeles Dodgers. That's a 5-1 week for you. Granted, you did play the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. You won 5 out of 6. But those are teams you're supposed to be beating, and they're looking good doing so. So, nothing against the Dodgers. They had a better week than the other 4 teams that were behind them, and they deserve to be number 3. This team moves up no spots, nor moves down. This team was number 2 last week. They still boast the best record in baseball at a .639 winning percentage, 46-26. They lead the National League West. And then they went 6-1 this week, sweeping the Diamondbacks, taking 2 out of 3 against the Phillies that are the San Francisco Giants. Still, I am so confounded by how this team plays. I am confounded how their starting pitching gets it done every night. Their offense gets it done every night. And their bullpen. I don't understand with the San Fran Giants how they're able to do this. And I honestly think they're going to keep it up. There's just no slowing them down. I really just don't think they have anything to slow them down. Except maybe playing in a very tough division, which has the Dodgers and the Padres. But even then, it's just like, yo, man, holy mackerel. So, the Giants are the best team in baseball still. However, they're not the best team in the power rankings this week. And if you do the process of elimination, if you could take a guess, this team is on a 7-game winning streak, 6-0. They took a 2-game series out of Texas this week. But then you sweep the Chicago White Sox. Respect in my books for the Trash Bangers. They now boast a 43-28 record and now lead the American League West. And by technicality, with the win-loss record, they lead the American League West by percentage points. However, with games in hand and whatever, A's are tied with them. However, the Houston Astros, the bats are alive. Altuve, Correa, everybody waking up now. They just lost Bregman, though. I think that's going to be a big, big loss for the Astros coming up. And from what I know is there's no timetable for his return, but their pitching's been outstanding. I mean, you take 4 straight out of the White Sox. You won 7 straight, 8 out of your last 10. I mean, the Astros are hot right now, and everybody hates them, and it's great to see. But you know what? They're still a great baseball team, and I think that gets forgotten with everything that's gone on the last couple of years. Dusty Baker, man. I mean, I don't know how he does it every year, but Dusty Baker, man, he's able to keep them going. But you know what the funny part is? I think if you look at, I don't think even he's the American League Manager of the Year. Why? Alex Cora, I think, absolutely gets it for Boston. I mean, right now, the way they're playing, I don't see anything else. And then Gabe gets it for San Fran. I mean, it just didn't work out for him in Philadelphia. It really didn't. And I mean, what are you gonna do? It's just a bummer. But I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, what are you gonna do? But I mean, that's your power rankings for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Whatever I just blabbed about. Great baseball coming up this week. I'm excited to go to the Met game tonight. Going with part of my family. It's a boys' night out tonight. So Dad, that's his Father's Day gift. We get to double tilt it tonight. And then my brother finally was able to come along. So that should be fun. And gonna have a blast. I'm excited. It's been I went to the game a couple weeks ago against the Braves. That one game that they got rained out the other 2. Where they hit the 6 homers. I'm hoping for that tonight. But all in all, baseball really in full swing right now. Stanley Cup playoffs are about to end. NBA really, really kicking it too. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets, man, that's great to see. But that's just me. I mean, super teams suck. That's just the bottom line. It's just such a bad concept. Such a bad concept and for it to work. All right. Well, anyway, it's been real. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy your week. I will be here next week with another Power Rankings. If the Stanley Cup playoffs end this week, there will be a video recapping all that and my preview for the final. Habs and Vegas are tied at 2. Isles and Lightning are tied at 2. So we're at least going 6. Going back home to Tampa and Vegas. Oh, great hockey. Great baseball. Great basketball. Football not too far behind. Here you go. Sports are in full swing right now in the middle of June. And for what it's worth, I'm glad it's here after last year. So, everybody enjoy. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Just keep pumping out stuff as much as I can. And stay classy, everybody. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.